Welcome to this video where we're going to go all the way back to the start. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. We've heard this mentioned in the Christian scriptures. This is a story about our origins, our beginnings. And in this book of Genesis, which means origins, is this unfolding of the great drama. In this world, we experience suffering, loss, hurt, pain, and death. It's well worth diving deeper. What is the meaning here? What is this trying to teach us? What does it mean for today? We hear that there was a great fall, and this fall happened at the hands of Adam and Eve. I think we might want to find out what that fall was all about. We should find out what was that fruit that Adam and Eve ate when they ate the fruit. And it says their eyes were open and they saw that they were naked. So I wonder, what was that fruit that Adam and Eve ate? Well, many people turn to me and say, it was an apple, wasn't it? To which I say to them, no, go back and read your Bible. It doesn't say in the Bible that they ate an apple. It's not actually about a physical fruit. It's about a metaphorical truth. So again, we want to find out, what was the fruit that Adam and Eve ate that caused them to fall? You see, the fruit came from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. What would be the fruit that would come from a tree called the knowledge of good and evil? We just simply need to ask ourselves the question, what would come out of, what would be the outcome of knowing good and evil? So, just like money or wages would be the fruit of your labor, what would be the fruit that would come from a tree called the knowledge of good and evil? Well, that fruit would have to be judgment. If you know good and evil, the outcome of that, the outcome of knowing these dualities, these perceived dualities, would be judgment. And in fact, that's what we see that takes place when Adam and Eve ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. They ate that fruit, they consumed it. It says their eyes were opened and they saw that they were naked. God even said, when God turned up, said, who told you you were naked? No one told them. They made a judgment. Now we must back things up, because this beautiful poem in the book of Genesis talks about how on each day, after each stage of creation that God went into, after each day of creating, God said, it is good. On the second day, after creating more, he said, it is good. On the third day, he said, it is good. On the fourth, he said, it is good. On the fifth, they said, it is good. And I correct myself here and say, they said it was good, because it is in the plural. The Elohim said, it is good. On the sixth day, they said, it is good. And on the seventh day, there was a little change. They said, it is very good. And that's when God said to Adam and Eve, do not eat from the tree and from every other plant, herb, tree. You are free to eat, you're free to partake, but do not eat from this one tree. And this tree is a metaphor. The fruit that comes from that tree of knowing good and evil was judgment. Now, today, many people think that God is a judge and that God is waiting in the clouds to come down with great judgment. But here's the thing. When God turned up, he said, who told you that you are naked? Did you eat from that tree? And Adam said, well, that woman that you gave me, she gave me the fruit and I ate. Now we see the first instance of blame. From judgment comes blame, comes conviction. And this is where it went wrong. God's creation was good. God insisted that the creation was good. And what was basically being said here is, do not see this creation as otherwise than good. It is good. I have declared it as good. Do not judge it, which is, do not eat from that tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Do not think that you know what good and evil is. Do not look at the creation and perceive it as bad, to perceive it as evil. But that's what happened. They ate the fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and then it said their eyes were opened. And they saw they were naked, and so they covered themselves. They made another judgment call. If we cover ourselves, that'll fix it. And then they didn't just stop there. They didn't just judge themselves. They then judged God. They went and hid themselves in the bushes from God, which is ridiculous if you think about it, because God is omnipresent, omniscient, everywhere, all the time. So they judged themselves, and then they judged God. And yet here we are today, thinking that God does all the judging. God does not judge. It is man that judges. God declared everything was good, but man saw it as otherwise, and they judged. So the question is, how were they seeing if their eyes were closed? How were they seeing creation if their eyes were closed? God had created everything, and it wasn't until they ate the fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil that it says their eyes were open and they saw they were naked. Well, Adam and Eve were created etherically. They were still spirit beings. They had not yet dropped down into the physical plane. It's not to say that the physical plane didn't exist, but they were not aware of the physical plane. So how were they seeing each other? How were they interacting with nature? Well, in the etheric plane, they were seeing everything with a different eye. Not these eyes, which, as you see, we have two, and that is duality. That's where duality came in, when these two eyes were open. There are two aspects, good and evil. What they were seeing with was what I call the first eye. Many people would like to say this is the third eye. I call it the first eye. This is how Adam and Eve saw each other, through the eye of union, through the eye of yoga, through the eye of atonement, at one-ment, through the eye of oneness. Everything was seen as it is, without judgment. It even says in the Bible, when thine eye become one, it is then that we see the truth. And that's why when we go into meditation, we close our eyes. Many people strive to open the third eye. It is the first eye. So what happened when Adam and Eve ate the fruit and judged the creation that was declared good? What happened is they then dropped from the etheric plane, the more spiritual plane, the etheric plane, down into the physical plane. Because if you think about it, what does the physical plane do? It dies. Nothing in the physical plane lasts. Everything in the physical plane goes into entropy, which is basically death. It passes away. It comes and then it passes away, much like the clouds in the clear blue sky. It is the clear blue sky that never changes, that is more of the etheric realm. And we have aspects within the physical plane that give a leading towards those spiritual things. We, in the physical plane, have mind. We sense spirit. We know we're conscious. So what happened is Adam and Eve perceived to die, because what happened is when their eyes were opened, their physical plane bodies woke up, could see. In the physical plane, they had dropped down from etheric beings, spiritual beings, down into the physical. So when their eyes were opened, this eye closed down. When we go into meditation and we open the first eye, we do it with eyes closed. Because when we look at this physical world, we see duality. And wherever there's duality, there will be death. But the duality is not so evident in the etheric plane. And even less as you go up through the planes of nature into the astral plane, the spiritual planes, and the divine plane. Adam and Eve simply dropped into what we call an illusion. But what I want to bring to your understanding today and leave you with the question: are you eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? It is well worth asking yourself that question. Are you judging? I'm going to bring in more mystical understandings around Christ and how Christ turned up in the world, and how if we can embody the Christ consciousness, this understanding around judgment, righteousness, love, and divinity, we can awaken to the truth and overcome and transcend the physical realm with new understanding and a soul evolution. Again, I leave you with that question. Are you judging? Could you go 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes without making a judgment call? I leave you with that practice today. I don't want to just drop videos here. I'm starting at the beginning. We must look at this aspect. In what way are you judging creation? In what way are you judging yourself or judging others? Or for that matter, in what way are you judging God? God created us in their image, and man has been trying to repay the favor ever since. It's time for us to awaken to a new level of consciousness, understanding, so that we can enter into an age of peace, unity, love, joy, acceptance, and our ultimate truth. Meditate upon these things, and we will see you in future videos.